know, people really take for granted the quality medical care we have today. There's a common misperception about how bad things were back in the 1800s. To get a little perspective, why don't we ask this man on the street? Excuse me, sir. Do you mind if I borrow some time? I need to ask you a few questions about medical care in the 1800s. The first question is, why did doctors use rattlesnake hearts? What illness do you think it cured?
Rattlesnake hearts?
Yeah.
I'll get it for you.
Heart cancer?
No, it's really nice.
Video game addiction.
Rattlesnakes. From people.
Rabies. Pneumonia. The common cold. Myocardial infarction.
The second question is, did doctors think the night air was helpful or harmful? Helpful.
We've been here about a half hour, John. The project.
Harmful.
No.
Why do you think it was harmful?
Because it was nighttime. And people usually think there's demons in the night.
Very good answer.
Because night is when you can get abducted by aliens.
And third and final question. What was the most commonly used treatment for sick patients?
Leeches.
Leeches.
Shots. A big long shot, like this long, and it hurts a lot.
The answer to the first question, why did doctors use rattlesnake hearts and what did it cure? Well, they thought it cured the disease called epilepsy, which we now know is ridiculous, and it wasn't true. But that's what they thought at the time. And the answer to the third question, was night air helpful or harmful? The answer was harmful. People used to think that night air was harmful because they thought it spread diseases. Nowadays, we know that you can never get enough fresh air. The answer to the third question, what was the most commonly used treatment for sick patients, was bleeding. They used to cut a gash in someone's arm or leg, and they used to let the unneeded blood drip out. They used to think that some diseases were caused by unneeded blood. So we can now say that people living today in 2009 would not want to be treated by a colonial doctor. Well, a lot of doctors, especially in the 1800s, and scientists believed in things that may not have been true. Like, for example, bleeding someone would pretty much cure any disease, but that wasn't true. And they believed if you hung a dead spider on your neck, for example, it would protect you against some kind of disease. But they were wrong about so many things, and then in this age, we figured out that pretty much that they're wrong. It was really the family's responsibility, and mostly the wives were the ones who, the wives were pretty much the ones who took care of the ones who were sick. It was a family responsibility, but mostly the wife did the work.
How did people feel about doctors back then?
Oh, well, really, they didn't usually go to that many doctors, because usually they were high fees. They costed a lot of money, and for other reasons too. So they usually went to maybe someone in the family or someone that they know, or a specialist in the area, but they wouldn't really go to a doctor because they were so high priced. You were paralyzed or something, they'd cut your leg off, or if you had like a swollen leg, they'd cut it off. And you don't really have to do that. In this age, we figured out a different way to cure. In this age, we figured out, well, about medicine, we got shots and we wiped out pretty much polio and cholera and smallpox and so many diseases just by injecting them into other people. So it's pretty much we got rid of a lot of those diseases.